Good morning. I think we're live. I never quite know if we're when we're live if I'm on StreamYard because it's not as clear as on Facebook. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Fucked Up Man, which is specifically for entrepreneurial males, successful, busy entrepreneurial males who really want to stop missing the magic moments at home. We live in a noisy world, right? The world is very noisy. Social media is extremely noisy. People telling you that you should buy this course and that program. And hey, I've even said at the bottom of this, the irony is that I've even put at the bottom of this video, book a complimentary coaching call. There's constantly messages being put at us to do this, do that, focus on this, focus on that. And I'm just going to grab a stool. The world is noisy, and Facebook in particular is a very noisy place. It's a very noisy place, and one of the things that the whole purpose of this new kind of brand of videos is to really bring light to that. It's the whole purpose of these videos. I was interviewed last night, and somebody said to me, you know, why are you not doing the kind of Miles More motivation anymore? And I said, well, first and foremost, when I used to do those videos, when I was off camera, there was quite an unhappy person off camera. And that was something that it took a long time for me to be really honest about. Like I kind of felt that, you know, I had to kind of promote my coaching and my brand in a very high energy way. You know, I've very much been a fan of, you know, Tony Robbins's work for several years, but I realized that with that, I said in the interview last night that I believe the word negative gets a bad rap. Like I believe that the word negative gets a bad rap because if you think about it, for there to be a charge of energy, there has to be positive and negative. And somewhere, somehow, I don't know who decided that the word negative was going to be used in a bad connotation. It's a bit like rain. If you're watching this in the UK, if you live in the UK, rain is often seen as a bad thing, right? You know, people will say the connotations of rain are kind of miserable, unpleasant, and there's lots of negative connotations with the word rain. But if you go to Africa, if you go to parts where there isn't a lot of rain, all of a sudden, rain is seen as a really good thing. Rain is the solution to a famine, right? So the purpose of these videos is to create a space, especially for entrepreneurial men who, if you're anything like me, your mind is continuously racing. And today's session is really all about, you know, a coaching client asked me this question this week, you know, Miles, how do I stop excessive thinking? And I said to them, I don't know the answer. I don't have a pure answer. I said, but if you find the answer, can you let me know what it is? that was my reply to that question. Because lately, I'm not going to lie, lately I've had a lot of excessive thinking. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I was on a sales training, which was amazing, by the way. But the day after, I got really low. And on reflection, I now know why I got really low. It's because I was really in this, what I call Western masculine, which is, you know, go out, kick ass, achieve your goals, hustle, work harder, which is an important component, right? Because if you don't do that, you know, they come and take your house and your car and your sofa and your fridge and all that stuff, right? That's really, really important part if you live in the West, is that masculine charge to achieve and do more. But at the same time, it's equally important to have what I call the Eastern feminine. The Eastern feminine is more kind of go with the flow. It's more fly by the seat of your pants. It's more spontaneous. It's more variety. It likes excitement, fun, different, change, meditation, walks in nature. And for me, I got out of balance. I was really in the kind of, the sales mode and following up prospects and creating things to grow my brand. And I got out of balance, and I wasn't, in those few days, I wasn't spending enough time in nature and meditation and things like that. So for me, there isn't really to answer this question. I don't think there's a definitive answer to how you stop excessive thinking. There's many things that I do. Meditation is definitely one that works for me. In fact, I'm actually in the middle of getting a new coach for myself. I have a couple of coaches, but there's a specific reason why I'm looking for a specific coach in addition to the coaching that I already have. And for me, one of the best ways to stop excessive thinking is to listen less to the voices of other people and to spend more time listening to the voice inside yourself. I'm just going to get my phone. Every few days, I will go to my phone and I will write what I call a gut check, which I'm just going to bring one up, which basically means, what is my gut? Or some of you may call it God, some of you call it intuition. What is it telling me to do right now? And in this particular gut check, it says, which I've got here, it says, go to bed. When was this? January the 2nd. It says, go to bed early. Your 5 a.m. routine is really good for you. Watch more Impractical Jokers. That's some guys from New York, funny guys from New York who I really enjoy. Stay in your lane. Stop comparing to other people. Focus all your energy on contribution and growth. Talk to God even more. So sometimes if I'm in excessive thinking, I just make a note like that, and I just write, and I've got loads of these. They're all the ones in red, right? You can see all those there. So I'll just take a few minutes to just kind of, here's one. Less is more, dude. Meditate, meditate, meditate. Sometimes I'm looking for giant changes when I just need tweaks. I must appreciate more. It's powerful. It's really powerful. Sometimes I think excessive thinking really is just that. Your thoughts are kind of tangled. And so for me, having a coach has been a really powerful thing. And it's the reason why I'm looking for I'm going to be hiring a new coach soon for a different reason, is to have somebody just ask you questions so that you can just speak out the answers. Because here's what happens if you're unfamiliar with the book, the Chimp Paradox. It's a great book. But the key message of the book is that we have kind of this little chimp that sits on our shoulder, and it's kind of telling us things that aren't always serving us. It's designed to kind of keep us safe. It's designed to, it has a positive intention. It wants us to stay safe and not fail and not be laughed at and judged and all that stuff. But with that can come, a lot of regret and missed opportunity and not growing and not expanding your potential. But there is a lot of benefit. And for me, the reason why I have a coach and the reason why I feel like it's a really important part of stopping excessive thinking is because when you have somebody ask you questions and all you've got to do is come up with the answers, it creates space, because what happens is, on a daily basis, this is what often happens with my head, is I'm thinking of the question and the answer. So I'll ask a question like, what should I do now? And that isn't always, the answer that comes back isn't always the best thing. Whereas if you ask yourself the question, what do I really, really, really want? You're more likely to get a better answer, which is much more broader, bigger picture, which therefore is going to then would mean that the action that you take next might be different than what should I do next? What should I do next might be check my email. what do I really, really, really want? What do you really, really, really want? The answer might come back to live by the sea, for example. That's an answer that's just come in for me, right? And then all of a sudden I can start to think about, well, what action would I actually have to take to make that happen? And it might be that now is not the time to do it. But the point is, it's got me focused on the bigger picture. And it's cut through the noise of just this kind of busy to-do list. Got to do this, got to do that, got to do this, got to do that, which can be really overwhelming. I use an app as well. I use an app which is called Commit to 3. And the app is, you can get it in Android, you can get it in Apple. And it really comes from a question which I saw on YouTube a few years ago, which is, if you could only do 3 things today, what would those 3 things be? And so what that does is that is effectively going, put your to-do list to one side and pick the top 3 things that you want to do those 3 things, and then you can do your to-do list after, if and when you've finished those 3. And so for me, the real power of committing to 3, I use it, my clients use it. The real power of that is it minimizes it definitely helps to reduce the overwhelm of thinking you've got lots to do. Because in actual fact, like, I sometimes attach my self-worth. In fact, I do this a lot. I'm guilty of attaching my self-worth to doing more than being. So, for example, I've been guilty of attaching my self-worth to how much money's in the bank. I've been guilty of attaching my self-worth to how many clients I've got. When in actual fact, what is a more important measure, which I know logically, but it isn't always easy to kind of, common sense, logic is not always common practice, right? Is how you show up as a person is way more important. Because at the end of your life, when you're gone, people aren't going to talk about what you achieved. They're going to talk about your character. You read the obituaries. If you ever read obituaries, they don't say, he drove a nice BMW. He had a coaching business with 500 clients. He made this much money in his life. No, they don't. He wrote a book. Like, they don't even talk about that. Those things don't come up in the obituaries. They come up what kind of person was he? How did he show up? Was he a family man? Was he present? Was he joyful? How did he show up? So for me, that kind of what I call being before doing is such an important part of quieting the noise of excessive thinking. Short episode. So I'm going to be doing more episodes like this, which are obviously a completely different energy that you're probably used to from me. But there's a very specific reason for this type of broadcast. In the UK, those of you that are watching in the UK, we're in the midst of those of you watching live, in the midst of another lockdown. And I can only imagine, because I've looked at suicide rates, I can only imagine how many men who don't have suicidal thoughts, but are just are excessively thinking, and how many of them are just keeping things in, bottling things up. I think I'm pretty open, vulnerable, transparent, but I know a lot of men that aren't. And so the purpose of this show is to let you know that you're not alone, and to hopefully encourage you to reach out to a friend, a peer, preferably who is male. Nothing against women, just to clarify, right? So if you're a woman watching, this is definitely for you. But I'm a male. I'm a masculine male in my 30s. I'm an entrepreneur, married with children. So I most can relate to that demographic. So I'm mostly speaking to that demographic when I do these videos. And I'm basically saying, don't be like a boiling kettle with your finger on, not allowing it to boil. Let your emotions out, be more vulnerable, be more open, express yourself more openly. If you do want to have a conversation with me, I'm more than happy to send me a DM, more than happy to talk to you about how I can maybe help you. But the purpose of this show is really just to, in the midst of this current pandemic that we're in, is to really kind of go, don't keep your emotions, your thoughts in, let it out. If there's one thing women are great at, it's communicating how they're feeling, stereotypically way better than men. So yeah, let your emotions out. The end. I hope you found today's episode useful. This is new for me. Like, this is a little bit uncomfortable because I'm used to kind of, high energy, jumping around, putting myself in a state that often in the inside I wasn't always feeling, which is not a bad thing, by the way. I'm all for putting yourself in a peak state, but I don't think peak state has to always be extremely high heart rate. I don't think that always has to be the case. I think, Richard Wilkins says, it's okay to not be okay, right? So if you're a person that's not feeling good, don't pretend, right? Don't pretend. Deal with it, and then get yourself to the point where you are okay again. Don't just try and just kind of mask over it and like push it under the sofa the way you would, an unpaid bill, right? So anyway, hope you've enjoyed the show. Like, comment, share, whatever you like to do on these broadcasts that you do. And I will be back with more. If there's particular topics that you'd like to hear from me, please share. I would love to know what topics in particular you'd love to hear from me in these shows. Peace. God bless. See you soon.